Hey everybody, this is John Moore, and we're going into our second part of this Musiclilly build. I'm going to talk about what I've done so far and explain it to you as I go along. First thing I want to look at is the neck. Now this neck was so well made, all I had to do was hit it with a little bit of 400 grit sandpaper, and it's completely smooth. And what I did was I used tung oil. And this is subjective, so you're going to do it for however you like it to be done. My way isn't the only way. To give you an example, Gibson Guitars paints their necks. So if you paint a neck, you're also going to have to put clear finish on it after you paint it. I like my necks to feel natural, so I use tung oil. You can also use teak oil. You can also use true oil. And what I did was I put about 3 coats of tung oil on here. Took it about an hour to dry. Used lemon oil on the fretboard. That's to moisturize and protect it. Installed the Musiclilly Pro Series locking tuners, and this neck, except for drilling in the screw holes through the body, it's ready to be mounted in a guitar. Real easy. I've never had a guitar neck that I got made by someone else in a kit and or bought a neck that was as easy to finish as this Musiclilly neck. That's how well made this thing is. So I'm really pleased with the neck. Now, the body I hit with some 320 grit sandpaper. And I've got it dyed. And I'm going to use a clear finish on this. 2K finish, and bring out some really bright colors. Now what I used on this was Angelus dye, and this is great stuff. I used to use Kita dye. I used to use aniline dye, actually is what it is. It's made by several makers, and it's good. And no complaints there. You can use it, no problem. What I liked about this was how little it took to do a full cover. And so what I did was I started with jet black, and I dyed the whole guitar body jet black, front and back. And then I sanded it back with some 320 and smoothed it, took the black back off, and then I dyed it black again, and I sanded it back again. And after I did that, front and back, then I dyed it oxblood. That's this color here. And so after I did that, I dyed it with the oxblood, I sanded it back, and then I come back with my black, and I went around the edge. And then I picked up my oxblood and I feathered it in so that it transitions from the black to the red smoothly. It's the same way you do a burst finish, except on a burst you would have a more defined black around the edge, and then it will fade into the next color in the center. Bursts are okay, I like them, and I'll do them, but I like this much better. Personally, and it's a personal thing. Once I got the dye on there and got it dry, the next thing I did was I used some grain filler, and the one that I use is this one. It's Aqua Coat. This is a clear grain filler, and you put it on, you get it smoothed out, and once you do, you let it dry, you hit it with some sandpaper and smooth it out, and you're ready to go. Now remember, this body is alder wood. So it didn't take a whole lot of grain filler. It wasn't like trying to do an ash body, which has a very large grain on it and takes a lot of grain filler to do it. With woods like alder, basswood, maple, mahogany, has a much tighter grain. You still should grain seal it. That locks your color in. So it keeps it from fading and other things that you're not going to like further down the road. Now, once you get it to this point, your next step is up to you. And that's finishing. Your finishing choices are, man, there's so many, it's unreal. We could take this and we could finish it with tung oil. We would just put coat after coat of tung oil on there, wipe it on by hand, let it dry out and cure out, and then buff it. Probably take about 3 weeks to do a tung oil finish on this guitar. We could also use true oil. Same process. You got to sand between coats to make sure you don't overbuild anywhere, and then you have to let it cure for 3, sometimes 4 weeks, depending on the temperature and humidity, until it gets completely hard, where you can't leave a nail impression in it, and then you can buff it. We could use nitrocellulose lacquer, which is the old standard guitar finishing technique. The only drawback with nitrocellulose lacquer and shellacs are the nitro lacquer and the shellac both will yellow with age, and shellac will crack. And if you don't do periodic cleaning on your lacquer and make sure it's okay, it'll crack. Your next option would be polyurethane, which is used a lot these days in guitar manufacturing. You can wipe it on, you can spray it on. You can put as many coats of it on as you like. It cures faster than the others. You have two types. You have water-based poly, and then you have a mineral spirits-based poly. And the rule of thumb with poly, when you put it on, is you have to let it cure 1 day for every coat you put on. Which would mean if you put 5 coats on, which is an industry standard, you put 5 coats of poly on there, you got to let it sit for 5 days for it to cure. And cure means where it's hard enough that it doesn't leave a fingernail impression. But that's also weather and temperature is a factor as well as how fast that cures, because if it's cold and or high humidity, it's going to take it longer to cure out. And then you have some other finishes out there that you can also use, which would be like 2K, which is a polyacrylic 2-part, very similar to epoxy. You can get it in a spray can formula. You can also get it in its 2-part formula and mix it yourself and run it through a spray gun. Each manufacturer makes it a little bit different on that 2K finish. Some of them require up to 3 to 4 days per coat to cure, which means it cures in the same time as your oil finishes and shellacs and lacquers. You can also, depending on the manufacturer, the one I like the most has a 24-hour cure time in it. You spray it on, you can put you can put coats on it every 15 minutes. It dries in an hour and it cures in 24. That was my favorite one. And those finishes will give you a very thick coating and protect your guitar from damage and scratches, dings, things like that. So it's pretty much up to you what you want to do at that point. I will tell you this though, the only thing I had to do with this guitar body that came from Musiclilly was I needed to drill a hole right here where my finger's at to put the ground wire where this post is going so I could ground my bridge. Other than that, I didn't have to do anything to this body. I did some light finish sanding on it and it was ready for dye. So the next step will be when I start clear coating, and I will make a video as I'm clear coating it so you can see how it goes on. I do have some other things to do before I clear coat. I'm going to need to put some masking tape inside these post holes. I need to mask this off because I don't want anything to affect it. And the other thing I'm going to need to do is, you can tell by looking, there's no holes in the body for the pick guard. And Musiclilly did that in case you wanted to use an 8-hole pick guard or an 11-hole pick guard, or variations of it, so that you can actually fit the pick guard that you're going to use onto the guitar, drill your holes for your screws, and then you're ready to go. Same thing with your output jack. So other than that, one drill hole there and the pick guard and output jack drill holes. The rest of this guitar is exactly like it came out of the box. This is one of those, it's not a super challenging build because everything is so well made. And if you're building kits or parts casters, of course, there's always a little bit of work you got to do to prepare things, but in this case, it's basically finished sanding is all I had to do with this. Overall, this is an incredibly easy guitar to put together. And it's all quality. It's well made. I am amazed. I built some kits. I bought kits from different suppliers. I bought necks from different suppliers. I generally make my own now. And I can tell you, as far as guitars go and kits and that type of thing, this has been the easiest and highest quality I have ever put my hands on, unless it came off my machines that I'd made from scratch. So you can't go wrong if what you want to do is get yourself a guitar made, have the experience of learning how to finish one with a good made parts to start with. So I 100% recommend this at any time that you want to make a guitar for yourself. And I would imagine once I get this done, it's going to be stage ready, so you won't complain about this because I put the higher quality parts in it to start with, which is an advantage of having this particular body and neck. So I'll see you next time when we get ready to start shooting the finish on this body. Have fun, enjoy the builds, and just keep on making guitars.